All right, we are live. Welcome everyone to the James Pollard after party, or James the Tank, as he's also known. Glad you could join us for the after party. Hope you guys enjoyed the initial conversation that James and I had. If you missed it, there is a link to it below, which will also lead you to all the links that you can then stalk James on, like Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, etc. So anyway, so we have with us today, so far anyways, I'm pretty sure more will jump in as time goes on. We have from the wonderful Atheist Roundtable show, we have Murder Shed Steve right here below me with us as well, who I actually just had on the show recently. I think it was about a few weeks ago. And of course, one of the first people to ever be on my show is also with us, the Bible Belt Atheist, also known as Zach, and he's very knowledgeable when it comes to the ways of music because he likes my tunes. So,
well, that just automatically makes him an expert.
That's right. That's right. He's even done covers, which I think is you're the first person to ever do something like that. So that's a kind of
I'm going to soon. Because I did that one cover and then I hated how it sounded, so I deleted it, and I just have yet to redo it.
Okay, fair enough. And hopefully, with this whole COVID thing going on, our bass player in my band actually works in old folks' homes. And there's been a lot of COVID cases in the old folks' homes. So, but he's safe. He hasn't contracted it or anything like that. He wears a mask at band practice and stuff, just in case he's asymptomatic.
Right.
But yeah, our get-togethers to jam have been really sketchy lately because, of course, my lead guitar player also has a new work schedule. We used to jam on Friday nights, and it was always awesome because I would bring a case of beer with me, and we'd have it for Brewskis. If you smoke half a doobie or whatever, we get in there, we'd be jamming, run through our set a couple of times or whatever, and start writing some new stuff. And we got a lot of new stuff that's in the works right now, probably at least a dozen tunes. So, there should be some new recordings coming out pretty soon, hopefully. Just a matter of when we can get together to do it. So, but right now, but being summer too, where everyone's off vacation, like I took off for a couple of weeks. Our drummer Colin's work schedule changes a little bit in the summertime, so he can't be there Fridays anymore. And now we're doing like Saturday mornings, and of course that never seems to work out because there's always somebody that can't make it. So we have to make do with whoever's there. If it's just me and the guitar player, we'll sit and write things. If it's just me, the guitar player, and the drummer, then we'll run through the tunes. And maybe the bass player shows up, or I might teach the bass player some of the old songs that we used to play so that he can get hip on that shit. Yeah, it's a lot of fun, but we still get together once in a while.
Yeah, the COVID's making everything tough.
Yeah. But I got a cool new mask.
Oh, let's see that.
Oh yeah, fuck yeah! This is the filtered type that you can wear, like. Got the funky little, got like a skull on it and shit like that.
What is that, like a bird skull?
No, it's human skull. It's just the eyes are right in the center there. So
I got you.
And it's got the filter in it. So
nice. So you don't smell everybody's farts, right?
Something like that. Yeah.
Charcoal filter or something. Yeah.
Christian J. Watkins wants to know if this is an open after party. What do you guys think? Should we let him in here? He's going to be on my show coming up soon.
Sure.
Should we let Christian in here? Should we allow him to be part of an after party before he's even been on my show? Is that a rule I can break for this guy? I like Christian. So that's true too. You were BBA. That's absolutely true. Oh, sure. Make me look bad. I'm kidding. Well, Christian, if you would like to join, send me a quick message on either Messenger, Facebook Messenger, or Twitter, and I'll give you a link.
I was going to say, Neil, are you really forgetting to say Twitter? Because that's kind of your main thing, isn't it?
It is, yeah. But a lot of people recently I've been adding through Facebook.
Oh, okay.
And they don't have Twitter account. Like James just made his Twitter account today, which reminds me, guys, there's a link to it in the original interview. Go and follow James, okay? Because we got to get more and more people so he can get introduced into the community. I know a lot of people are like, what community? Like they say, well, there's no atheist community. Yes, there fucking is. There are splintered communities, definitely, of atheists. But I think most of the communities that I'm involved with that deal with the atheism thing, there's some really good people in them. So never hurts. Okay, send me a message. All right. Yep, I see that. There you are. All right, Christian, I'm sending you a link now. There you go, brother. You're welcome in here. Anyone is actually, if you would like to join us, I can send you a link for sure.
So James, I kind of missed. I was doing the other thing, and I missed your interview. But what's the tank about?
Yeah, it's just kind of something that's always been there. When I started my YouTube channel, that was just the screen name that I gave myself. And like when I was thinking about what direction I wanted to take this thing, I couldn't bring myself to let it go. I had all kinds of clever names for what it should be, and just was like, but there's this like normalizing thing where like I don't have to come up with the new great name. It goes back to when I was a kid because I was pushing furniture around with my head.
Fair enough. Nice.
I think I moved the couch before I could walk.
So you're crawling out like a little tiny tank moving around furniture?
Somebody was eating theirs. Somebody was eating spinach.
It was just kind of what it was. If you left me alone in the room, all the furniture ended up against a wall, probably in a corner.
Sweet. Nice. I'll keep that in mind when I need a furniture mover.
It's a really big part of how I show up for my friends. I have helped so many people move, and
me too.
It's like I have this sensation of how I walk through life that like my body is just like intended to get my brain to meetings, right? Like just move my consciousness around the world. And it's really nice to be able to break out of that and be useful in like a way that is less identified with ego and self,
Sure. Welcome, Christian, by the way.
Thanks for letting me on.
Hey, fuck. I don't actually have a rule where people can't be on if they haven't been on the show yet. That's just a joke that I kind of perpetuate. But yeah, actually, Christian, what date did we set for you?
I believe it's the 10th.
I think you're right. I got some really cool people, actually, Christian being one of them. Yeah, Monday the 10th of August, 4 p.m. Pacific time. I've got, I'm not sure yet if he'll still be doing it because he lost a son or a baby, was Dr. Josh Hammurabi, who they were pregnant and they lost the child. So I'm sure, yeah. And he's going to be it would have been the Wednesday following you, Christian. But and I'll talk to him within the week or so to see how he's doing, if he still wants to come on and do that. Because I imagine something like that, you need quite a bit of healing time, right? So I might have to reschedule with him. But anyways, but a really interesting person that'll be coming up. They're not like well known or anything, but she'll be talking about the deconversion of her entire family. Talking about how they all kind of just came out of it at the same time. Her brother got in contact with me first, but he didn't really want to come on. He was kind of afraid to come on, so she said she would do it. And her name is Teresa Duplessis. And I got a fisherman coming up after that. His name is Dominic, and of course Aliakai, who's Ashley Gouch, actually, who used to be a co-host with the Raging Atheist, but until they had some sort of a fallout. But she'll be coming on. Swede, why aren't you in here? Or Swede is there.
I wonder how common that is, where like there's a collective of people that all have agreed beliefs, and when one person is like, I don't really believe this, everybody's like, neither do I. Like it's probably a lot more common than we realize. Oh
yeah, I'm sure. Towards the end of August, I have, you guys might know David Oliverio or whatever, who's the preaching humanist, one of the ACA shows. He'll be joining me. Of course, Nick Soder, who does the In Time show, he's going to be joining me too. And Ian Harris is a atheist comedian. If you don't know who he is, I definitely recommend you go check him out. He's got stuff on YouTube and whatnot. He's hilarious, and he'll be joining me as well. But that's not till September 23rd, so that's quite a ways away. Lots of really cool people coming on the show. Anyways, yep. But of course, the 10th will be with Christian here, so you guys should tune in for that. Irish, you're in bed. You think that's an excuse?
I was
What's wrong
so
with you,
excited to
man?
come on
I would've been in
that I
bed
had
too.
to hop on an after party.
Which after party were you supposed to jump into?
No, I said I was so excited to come on next week that I wanted to jump on early to get a hold of the vibe of sorts.
Couldn't wait.
Oh, gotcha. Vibe, sending vibes.
Oh, yeah,
No, I'm just
vibes.
kidding.
Yes, the spiritual vibes. Of
No,
sorts.
they're beer vibes.
So I got to tell you, there was one after party that I listened to where somebody was talking about like economic models and kind of like news
Oh, yeah.
and anarcho-communism.
Yeah.
And then somebody like changed the subject, and I was like, "What the hell?" Like I was so excited.
Happens a lot. Anarcho-communism, that wasn't the one with what's his name with the red beard?
I was probably only listening to it. I listened to it.
Shit. The names escape me. This happens all the time to me nowadays. I say, "Oh yeah, I've talked to so and so," and then I'm like, "Fuck, what was their name again?" I can't fucking remember. Yeah, just getting old. Shit doesn't pan out.
Irish Swede says that was me,
Oh, was it?
but probably
Really?
not in the Scottish accent.
Damien Adhope was the one I was thinking of. Damien Adhope, who calls himself an apatheist, which basically is he doesn't believe in God, but he doesn't care either. He's like, I don't give a shit. I'm an apatheist. You want to believe in God? That's your fucking problem.
I would love to be an apatheist, and I think the breakdown for me is like, so when Westboro Baptist comes to my town and decides to protest the gay pride parade, like I'm there because I want to engage with those people so that they stop harassing the people that are enjoying their pride celebration, right? So I'll go and I'll just talk to these people, and that's kind of how I get to show up for that community. And like I'm motivated to do that because I used to think things really similar to the way they talk, you know? And like this whole, I can't just walk away from something and feel like that's enough. Like I would love to be an apatheist, but no, I'm going to be an activist because I caused a lot of garbage. It's time to clean some of it up. Oh, hello,
Yeah.
Gizmo.
I'm with you on. I used to be an apatheist, for sure, for a very long time because I just didn't know the effects, and all the damage until I started looking around me and seeing what was going on and stuff, and then I just couldn't keep my mouth shut.
You do hit that point where you're just like, okay, my voice needs to be heard on this matter.
Well, look at what's happening, in the world around us due to just poor standards of evidence.
Yeah,
which just gets indoctrinated into people when they are raised religious.
Yep, absolutely.
Yep.
I mean, it happens to all of us that end up in, being born into some religion type family, right? We're told all these different things by people we trust.
And just to believe it. Don't question it.
Don't question it. And I speak to a lot of people like outside of YouTube and outside of Facebook, Twitter, that shit. I said, and one of the things I tell them is if you're involved in any belief system that ever tells you not to question, get the fuck out of it.
You can take an axe to
bullshit.
it. I have to wait. There's so much I want to say, but I have to wait. I could get into so many different comments, but all of it is related to my deconversion. So I kind of just have to sit here and just
see. Neil, this is why you have strict rules about not having somebody on after parties.
Yeah, strict rules.
Stingent, yes.
Clearly not that strict. We have a new guest. We've got Gizmo the Pooch here with us. Here.
Oh, this is Toby. He's our full-size German Shepherd.
Oh,
Labrador.
Toby.
Yeah.
Who's Gizmo?
Gizmo. He showed up and then he left.
He's like, "Fuck, this is
I'm
boring.
sure
I'm
he'll
out
show
of here."
up again. This is a thing that needs to happen. Anytime you're in a Zoom meeting, bring your pets on. It makes everything better.
Oh,
You got
absolutely.
a cat, put it on your lap.
There's one in the other room. His name is Max, but it's Catter Day, so he's doing his cat things, right? So
I've heard the same thing works for dating apps.
Yeah, it actually helps for like homeless people too. Like homeless people are more likely to be able to collect handouts if they have an animal with them, which is super messed up because that animal is probably living in a jacked up environment, but it humanizes the person, and they, is what
So much for humanism, right?
Irish sweet. I was deconverted from right wing capitalism to left wing syndicalism. I'm an activist for that. Shit.
So I actually had something that we didn't talk about in the thing is I went to kindergarten twice. The first time was at a private Baptist school, and they established that I had like special education needs and that they weren't going to be able to fit them, so they were like sent to public school. But they sent me home with homeschooling literature, and one of these pamphlets had Cain receiving the mark of Cain, which was him receiving black skin, and it like had this map on the next page of like the Garden of Eden being in the Middle East, and showed like Cain going into the desert with the mark that would protect him and all his generations with an arrow into Africa. And like I look back on that decades later and I'm like, how was I supposed to come out of this without some baggage, yo? Like it's so clever. And, I look back on it, it might have been a coloring book, like I don't really know if it was like a children's book or what. Like maybe it was like homeschooling material where they were like, help your kid fill this out, give Cain skin, and then like on the next page, like maybe before you colored it he wasn't black, so they had like plausible deniability or something. But like my theocratic upbringing came with some baggage that was hard to get rid of. I rant. Sorry.
I feel like that seems to be a pretty common theme the more and more I talk to people who've deconverted, or really the more and more I see Neil's show. Oh, did I miss a hilarious something?
Yeah. Harmonica Man said, so you got the steering wheel off your lap. Must have been driving you nuts. Which is it's an old joke, actually.
It's kind of like a pirate joke, right?
It is, yeah. You guys see the pirate.
Driving your nuts.
Yeah, it's been driving me nuts all day.
I was just trying to reply and say I had it holding up a pair of shorts that were drying from swimming earlier.
Oh.
So.
The real reason.
An effective.
The real reason he took the steering wheel out of his pants so he could dry off some other pants.
Yeah.
Well, and then a friend of mine was driving the car earlier, and I was getting a roller. We were a couple of rollers.
Oh yeah.
So
when you say roller, the only thing I can think of is the things that my mom used to put in her hair. Like curly.
No, rollers like when you're holding the camera hanging out of the car and getting a low shot of the car driving by.
Yes, okay. I have a buddy of mine did that driving around in his fucking Beaumont for an entire day. He had this brand new camera that he'd gotten. He was all excited, and he had it stuck to the bottom of the car, and he'd drive around the city with this fucking camera on there and he's like, you guys got to see this. It's great. And I'm like, dude, you got like 18 hours of footage of you driving around doing nothing. Like, why do I want to sit around and watch this? At least give me a joint or something.
I'm sure you could sell it out for nothing as stock footage.
Yeah.
Maybe even better too, because a friend of mine that was driving kind of got on it a lot more than I ever have. And it's fully street piped, and I about lost my eardrums.
That's bad, man. One of the guys I work with does that, but he ended up ultimately, instead of just the straight pipes, he ended up getting glass packs on it because it's a little, I think, what is it, a 91 Honda Prelude or something? And it had straight pipes in this thing. I'm like, why? It's a Honda. But he ended up getting glass pack on there.
You're supposed to just poke holes in the muffler, right? That's the real trick.
make it sound beefy.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
No, like my car doesn't.
Huh?
Yeah, like my car, it doesn't have cats. It doesn't have resonator. It doesn't have mufflers. It doesn't have any of that. It's just straight pipe all the way back.
You fucking bastard. You're that asshole that wakes me up every night when he goes by, right? The hell is that? Somebody drop a nuke out there?
I do it with my stereo system.
Would you? We used to do that too. Remember the days when you used to build cabs with subs in them, like 14-inch fucking subs in them? And
Yeah,
just dump it in your car.
I got 10-inch 10-inch Alpine S series subs in my trunk, and then
He's bragging.
yeah, and it is a Honda. It's a Honda Civic. Oh yeah,
Like the old
yeah,
school 70s Civic, or like a newer one?
no, it's a 06.
Oh, okay, because my buddy had the old school, the original designs that came out in like the 70s, early 80s.
The ones that look like a box.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
He put a sub box in that, and you could literally, when he had that thing going, like he'll put on like 2 Live Crew or something back in the day. We Want Some Pussy, right? And it's boom, but you can see the car going boom, it was shaking every time the fucking subs would go. Like every time. It's like, oh shit.
What was that, Bunny Antigua or something like that? Bunny. We like the cars that go boom.
Yeah. Where's speaker talk?
Did I tune into car talk?
Oh, we're just talking about the way we used to do up our vehicles with sound systems. That's it, you guys. There's no big deal.
Yeah,
These
or
conversations,
glass pipes.
yeah. Because my friend Bible Belt over there is a car guy. He likes to talk about cars. So, and I like cars too. You know,
we're just talking about secular shit. What do you want?
Yeah, exactly. Of course, my friend. Why does this fly keep lying on my nose or landing on my nose? Anyway, so my friend Duke,
nectar on your nose.
I guess it's all the leftover beer that's on the tab there that hits my nose. Probably alcoholic flies. But my buddy Duke Bonanza, who used to come into my after parties all the time, he's been kind of laying low lately. Used to tell everyone that I drove a Prius. I don't drive a Prius. It's not even the right make of vehicle. That's a Toyota makes the Prius. I drive a Ford.
Neil, you strike me as a smart car kind of guy.
Yeah, fuck no. You can't even get into the thing. The guy that works at the place next door to me has one. And I see this guy come in every day in this little smart car, and he's huge. Like I'm like, dude, do you even have a passenger seat in that thing? Because you take that entire fucking car.
Does it look like he's got it chopped and dropped when he's riding in it?
No. Well, yeah. I swear to God, this car is so small. Whoa, what happened to Christian? Maybe he likes smart cars and we're making fun of them. But it's like these cars, you could literally put it in your pocket after you're done driving it. That's how small these things are. The best meme I ever seen with a smart car was this wrecked one on the side of the road. And the cop's saying, like, there's a cop there saying, oh, yeah, you just hit a chestnut or something that was on the road and it wiped out the car. Because they're so tiny, right?
Sounds like something that would apply to my car. Because I have because mine's slammed down and it's static, so I have very little clearance.
Stay away from speed bumps.
I used to work with
Hit him at an angle and send it.
I used to work on Beetles with a buddy of mine, and he called it slow and low. You don't even try going over a fucking speed bump. Forget it.
Or getting in a driveway.
Yeah, not going to happen. Nope.
You got to go on an angle.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah, you have to hit it in an angle and send it.
Yep. He said if it's not scraping going down the road, he doesn't give a fuck about it. So he likes the sparks coming out the back. Yeah.
Yeah. My buddy did that with it. Remember the Honda Civic I was telling you about? Mm-hmm. He lowered his, and he had fairings all the way around it too.
Of course,
right?
Yeah.
So he was constantly putting fucking duct tape on that shit just to keep it from falling apart because he would go into driveways and over speed bumps. I'm like, dude, you can't take this car on the road. It's like if there's a pebble on the road, it's going to knock your fairing off. Because he was like literally that fucking far off the road. You go, oh man, this is the cool shit. I'm like, this isn't cool. It's dangerous.
Yeah, I know people, or I don't know them directly, but I know them through friends. I mean, they've got like that much clearance from their fenders, and they're static.
Oh fuck!
I got a question for Theo in the comments.
What's that?
What are you afraid of? The Germans. He'll get it.
The Germans.
The Germans. Tommy.
Snatch reference. Right?
Uh-huh. Yeah, we're talking. I saw him talking about Snatch references in the comments. Sorry, I just broke the momentum of the whole.
No worries. I saw
Yeah.
Snatch once. I was really stoned when I watched it. And
Good choice.
I barely remember the movie all that much, but yeah. So let's get away from the car topic because apparently we're boring some people. So
I have to take a parting shot with the car stuff. The smart car, the structural integrity of that car is actually pretty remarkable because it's
yes, it is.
allowed to be like egg shaped, and when you elongate a car and you mess with its structure, you're creating more stress points. And by just having the whole car be inside this egg shape actually makes them like crazy rigid. So they're a lot safer than what used to be safe like 30 years ago. Obviously, a bigger car is still going to displace mass on a highway, but
I kind of agree. I like the lowrider jeans on the hot girls too, but at my age, that's creepy. So I don't want to do that. I don't want to start these. Neil's a creeper.
Well, you know what? I've probably got 1,000 comments that just rifled through my head that I'm going to choose not to do live on air. That would probably qualify you and I together.
I don't have that filter.
Well, it's a good thing I do because I was going to take it way too far. Kind of my thing.
I can make jokes like that, and people seem to take things way too seriously these days. If you ask me, let that shit slide. Let it roll off your back, like water off a duck's back. Like, who cares? Does it really bother you that much?
For what it's worth, some of us deal with shit with humor. You know what I mean? Exactly. That's how I process. I got a lot going on. My sister's dealing with cancer right now, and it's like she's getting a lot of blood transfusions. So thanks, Neil. You know,
I don't know if any of mine's making it to her, but I definitely am an advocate, as you know.
I know,
for blood
and
donations.
All the work you do for that is definitely making a big difference, and it's appreciated because I have a family member who is needing them a lot right now. So if you want to plug it again, go for it right now because we need it.
Definitely. If you remember, blood literally is in you to give, and you could save so many lives. Every donation that you make has the potential to save up to 3 lives.
Mm-hmm.
Keep that in mind.
It's incredible.
So when I talk about my dad, who was BC's champion at the time before he passed away in 2010, he was up to 532 donations. His lifetime achievement. Of course, the numbers piled up a bit when he was able to donate. What they do is he can donate platelets, and what they do is they remove your blood. This is a great big machine that they use, unlike regular donations. And it removes the blood, separates all the platelets, and then puts the whole blood back in. Right. So, and when you do that, then it can create more platelets rather quickly. So he can go into the donation clinic and donate every 2 weeks, whereas I have to wait 56 days, which is the standard in Canada. That's not saying that that's what everyone. Canada just sort of weighed things out and said this seems to be about the best time frame for enough blood to replenish itself. So we have a strict law here for 56 days. And I've been now donating for, I think I started the group in 2013 or 2012. And to honor my dad's commitment, I started the Partners for Life group, of course. And it's never been done in Canadian history where just one guy is starting a Partners for Life group that does the numbers that my group does. Never in Canadian history. When I first told them about this, but I told you already, most of you guys already know this stuff, but they said, oh, you should be, when we have people start groups like Partners for Life groups here in Canada, we like them to make a pledge annually of how many donations they figure they could muster. And I said, oh, well, fuck, knowing me and what my social media type connections that I have, I could probably break those numbers. And they kind of looked at each other like I was from Mars. Like, is he fucking serious? His dad did 530 something donations.
Is this guy friends with
this?
Is this guy friends with Elon Musk or something? Like,
or something like that. That would be cool. The guy's kind of a weirdo, but that'd be
yeah,
cool.
that's what I hear.
And I'm like, well, what do you guys suggest? And they go, well, we always suggest maybe 25 to 50 donations average for a single person started group. I said, well, you can write that down. Go ahead and write that down. But I'm telling you now, we're gonna shatter that. And they're like, oh, okay, sure, buddy. A year later, 681 donations by my group. They were like, holy fucking shit. You broke your initial pledge by 1,240%. Me being mathematically minded, I'm like, is that even a thing? Can you do that? But technically, numerically, you can. You can break it by 1,240%. So I got a cake. They made me this big cake. And I got to go on, because I've been on the news a few times for this, trying to encourage people to get out there and donate. As a matter of fact, one of the coolest things I think that happened to me for being on the news, doing this stuff, is I remember one time I was visiting my old buddy then when I used to live in Ladner. And I stopped at the 7-Eleven and I walked into the 7-Eleven to grab a couple packs of smokes or whatever the fuck it was I was going for. And on my way out, this little lady walked in. And I felt this little tug on my shirt. And I'm like, oh, hi, what's up? And she goes, are you that gentleman that I saw on the news the other day about the blood donations and how you shattered the record of your father? I'm like, yeah, that was me. She goes, do you mind if I give you a hug? I'm like, okay, sure. So I give this little lady a hug. And she goes, and while I'm giving her a hug, she kind of whispered, she goes, it's because of people like you that I got 5 extra years with my husband. Right? And I'm fighting back the tears right now because every time I think about that situation, it kind of makes me a little watery. But anyway, and that's why I do this, because this is why it's a perfect example of a good reason to do this, because you can give people extra life with their siblings, their partners, whatever it might be. So yeah, it's a good thing to do, man. And it won't hurt you.
No,
it's actually good for you, for your blood to recycle.
I was going to say, so whenever they get, not super great news, they call me to break that tension, because they know that within about 5 minutes of that call, I'm going to start joking.
Yeah.
And it helps everybody's mood. So, but no, I also wanted to just thank you for the work that you do with that, Neil, because that's, I was thinking about it pretty heavily just, recently with everything that's going on. So got to say you're appreciated.
Well, thanks, brother. That means a lot, because when I hear something like that, it means that what I'm doing is actually making a difference.
Yeah.
And if I can, I'm going to continue to do that. Jesus, Mike, you want to join us?
Yeah.
Chat, by the way.
I'd heard your story quite a few times, Neil, and I was re-listening to Hitchens recently, and he talked about the similar thing of giving blood, because it's the way to give that takes nothing from you, and it's the ultimate gift. And I felt myself like get a little happy, I acquired a piece of happy, because I was like, yeah, Neil's all right. I have kind of I'll give blood anytime it comes to me kind of attitude. And I think like so much comes back to accessibility. If you need my blood, do a blood drive,
Yep. As a matter of fact, I started a company that's kind of it's been on a long hiatus for a while now, called Lifeblood Entertainment, just because I lost everyone that was involved with it. They're gone now. So I had to buy people out. So I spent well over $12,000 buying people out just to keep the company with me, which is called Lifeblood Entertainment. And it's actually going to be changed to Lifeblood Productions in the future. But basically we put on concerts with local bands and well-known bands. Like here in Vancouver, one of these days I'll have like Biff Naked be the headliner. If you haven't heard of Biff Naked, check her out. She's awesome. Canadian band. Artist, I should say, lives right here in the city. And we some unknown bands, because I like to expose bands that I think have potential. Of course, we played the first one, the inaugural. So I got to play with a local band here, who called Aviator Shades, who've great tunes. Tallahassee Woman is a great song. Go look that one up on YouTube. Band called The Wild out of Kelowna. Roadhouse is a great song. Go check that one out. And of course, a classic punk band from Vancouver Island that's been around since the 80s called Dayglow Abortions. They were supposed to be the headliner, but they couldn't get across on time. So The Wild ended up being the headliner, and Dayglow played before them. They're a classic punk band. We actually had a bunch of kids outside the bar where we put the show on that were upset because they couldn't get in to see the Dayglows. So they were pissed off because it was an age restriction. You had to be 19 or older to come in because of the alcohol, of course. So there was a bunch of angry kids, and I got messages from them for a while after that one. And then we did another couple of smaller pub shows with some local bands and stuff like that. And then all the shit happened with my partners, and everything kind of fell apart. So it's still there, but it's on a hiatus. I'm going to change the company name to Lifeblood Productions rather than Entertainment. I'm gonna actually, instead of doing just music, we're gonna have comedians. We're gonna have the local chapter, the couple of local chapters of the Hells Angels that I've spoken to are very much into doing a blood drive, a blood ride, the ride for blood, kind of like the toy run kind of thing. So I'll be busy tying that stuff up probably this fall. See about doing that and having a little show at the end of that. But it's going to take some cash. So I'm almost at the point now where I think I might start a Kickstarter for raising a little bit extra cash just to put some of these shows back on. And one of the guys I worked with way in the beginning of this, who had an out with one of my other partners, kind of wants to come back in. So I might bring him in, and we did a lot of really good stuff together with that. So we'll see what happens. Yes, Theo, you can donate blood as a weed smoker. As a matter of fact, no, smoking marijuana at the very, very worst will help people because marijuana, as we know, has some healing factors to it. So Theo, yes, I told them when I first went in, I said, I'm a pretty avid pot smoker. And they're like, so? I'm like, really? They're like, oh yeah, we don't care about that. Cocaine, shit like that, that's a problem.
People will be in their hospital beds vibing.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like I just smoked a big fat one. All right.
Yeah.
But we do know that cannabis does have some healing abilities, or healing factors, we'll say, to it. So no, it is absolutely, they don't care if you smoke pot. If you do cocaine or you do, there's a lot of, when you have to fill out a questionnaire every time you go in to donate. And they ask you if you take drugs like Advair or anything that can, like Accutane, Advair, some other one starts with a J, I can't even remember. But anyway, there's some specific pharmaceuticals that they don't want in your system if you're going to donate. So also, you can't have seen a dentist in the past 3 days for whatever reason.
Probably the Novocaine or the,
something. Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Like if you've had fillings and they put some sort of AINE drug in you, which is actually they all come from the same source, the same as cocaine, by the way.
All the AINEs.
That's right.
I finally caught him.
There he is.
Oh.
Gizmo.
Oh,
Hey, Gizmo. Dog's like, what the fuck is going on? Who are all these tiny people on this computer thing of yours?
Just make sure you don't feed them after midnight.
Actually,
don't
our
even notice the monitors, whether it's TVs or anything, unless it's like wolves or ambulances.
Irish THC takes a lot longer than that to degrade from your blood. As a matter of fact, one of the issues we're having since legalization of marijuana here in Vancouver, or in Canada, period, is the driving thing. When is it safe to drive after you? And they want you not to get into your vehicle for 24 hours after you've had a doobie. I'm like, that's not going to happen. That's just not going to happen. I'll smoke at night and I have to go to work in the morning. That's far less than 24 hours. It's like 7-8 hours since I smoked that joint. So we're still kind of working on that sort of thing. But if you smoked a joint like a day before and you get pulled over and the cop uses the little contraptions that they use now, and they can still detect THC in your blood. So, but that's not an issue because if you tell the cop, listen, dude, if you because the levels do decrease as time goes on. Clearly, that's how shit works. But there's enough there that they could actually take your license away from you. That has yet to happen, and I know that people have been pulled over. But once they tell the cop, listen, dude, I smoked that joint like 2 days ago, but it's still showing up in people's blood tests and stuff like that. So there's a lot of fucking sway room that we need to work on for that kind of thing. Anyway,
Neil, I actually got to get running. Sorry to party and dash, but yeah, I got to get out of here. My family's showing up, so.
Gotcha.
But thank you so much for inviting me on, and always good to see you and talk to you. And it was nice to meet you, James, and Bible Belt Atheist. I saw you on Twitter, so I'll be adding you.
Yeah, follow both these people. You can.
Yeah.
I just recently followed James. I was his first follower.
Ooh.
Suckers. Snooze, you lose,
Say
people. But anyway.
you got me on Twitter too, you jerk.
This is my first time
Guilty as
actually
charged.
seeing Murder Shed.
Is what?
Oh, well, we'll hook up on Twitter.
I've heard of the Murder Shed before, but this is my first time actually seeing it.
This is the Murder Shed.
Here we are.
Yeah. And nothing bad happens, I pinky promise. But
Pinky swear.
yeah, actually today I was doing a lot of mopping in here. So yeah, getting the flies out. Anyhow.
That's why I smell bleach.
But
I could be having a heart attack, but never mind.
Thanks again for having me on, and yeah, I'll see you soon.
Always a pleasure, brother.
All right, man.
Yeah, you got to get me back on the damn Tart show again one of these days. That's so much fun.
Hit up Oz.
I don't want to hit Oz. He'll hit me back.
I got your back. Don't worry.
Okay. Just mute his ass. That's all it is.
Exactly.
Show them a shirt again. You can get these shirts right now, guys. Mute Oz shirts. They're funny. They're awesome. Go grab one.
Tart.live.
There you go.
There you go. All right, guys. Take care.
All right. See, Irish is also going to bed, but you got family shit to do. Go be family guy.
He was here for me anyway, so.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. All right. Zach, talk, man. You've basically been sitting there like a statue, just giggling at the odd thing that we say. So, what's going on with you, man? How's the car coming along?
It's coming. Kind of scared the hell out of us earlier whenever we were driving it because, like I said, the guys pushed it a lot harder than I've ever pushed it, and got up to an intersection right before this one road that's a pretty well in the car scene. It's a pretty good drag strip, nighttime drag strip, and so we got up to the intersection right before it, and then light turned green, and he was just stopped there still. So I was like, okay, maybe he just stalled, and didn't come up at all. And I was like, well, shit, maybe the car died again because it died a couple of days back.
Mm-hmm.
And
did you figure out why?
I got a couple of theories. It could have been really that the car just needed to cool off, because it's got some.
It's not an air fuel mixture thingy. Or?
Honestly, I'm not sure, but because it heats up pretty well, like you could cook a steak on it.
Is your thermostat working correctly, or what?
The connections for the thermostat sensor the clips on them are broken. So on the gauge cluster, my temperature gauge is through the roof because the connections are loose.
Right. So it's misreading, obviously.
Yeah.
But it's obviously because of this, you're still overheating, I guess. So
it still gets hot.
The cooling system, maybe have an overhaul of that cooling system. Check it out from top to bottom and see if there's an issue somewhere. It could be a blockage. You never know, right?
It could be, but yeah, so we had that. And then another theory was that maybe I've got bad compression.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll have to look at that, but these
are all fixable issues. So you learn as you go, right? That's how I did it. you kind of learn as you go. You pick up tips. And then we didn't have YouTube where I could look this shit up at that time. But that's pretty much the go-to now. You can look up any issue with vehicles on YouTube. And
I would say, quote unquote, any, because I've tried to look up some stuff for my car and you cannot find stuff. You cannot find stuff for a Z32.
Wow.
And it's just...
it's Z32. I'm just kidding.
Fucking
Canadians. You got them Zeds. Yeah, because like you guys, when they had the Camaro, like the Z28, as you call them, we call them Z28s, right? Obviously. But I remember talking to a guy back in the day about cars like that, like the Z28. But I call it, the Z28. He goes, what? I'm like, Camaro, Z28. The IROC, that kind of thing. He's you mean a Z20? I'm like, ZZ, same fucking thing, man. It's just I'm Canadian, you're American. We have a different way of saying it. And the funny thing is we always called it Z up in somewhere in the early 80s that changed. It's like all of a sudden it's no, we have to pronounce it Z now. I'm like, why? And then it just took over. I don't understand that. And then we had the whole from the imperial system to the metric system. That was a big switch, which happened in 70s, 80s as well. And just so you American folks know, you're now one of 3 countries left in the world that does not subscribe to the metric system. The other 2 countries, by the way, are really horrible countries. just so you know. Myanmar is one of them. They're ultra religious crap whack jobs there. And I can't remember what the other one was, but yeah. You guys really want to be in league with those 2 bastard countries?
Well, the Z thing is because you're members of the British Empire, right?
Well, yeah, we're still ruled by that bitch. Yeah, and her fucking family, whatever. I denounced the Queen a long time ago.
Yeah,
I don't feel bad. I know lots of hookers.
That's a solid thing. I remember when I was a kid going to see Braveheart, and the Mel Gibson character gets to say, "Never have I sworn an oath to that king." And I was still like super conservative, super religious. And I remember feeling a little robbed that I got trained into saying the Pledge of Allegiance before understanding the depth of those words, Like there was a loss of faculty by not being given that choice and just starting to do it before you actually understood what it was.
Right, for sure. I'm still to this day, I'm still pissed that we were forced to say the Lord's fucking Prayer every morning in elementary school. We had an assembly every morning, and we'd sing the Canadian national anthem, of course, and then we do the Lord's Prayer, and I'm like, why? I'm a Jew. Back then I was a Jew. I don't have to say this shit. Can we say it in Hebrew at least? And they're like, shut up, you damn Jew. Sit there and shut up and let the Christians do their thing. But yeah, so, and I never spoke a fucking word of it when I was there, by the way. And I got in trouble for that quite a few times.
So I'm a lot less involved in AA now than I used to be. But like, I remember, okay, so I like kind of saw myself again as kind of above these people that had, like, I still had kind of a God that kind of not according to any of their definitions, and that kind of made it okay. And then
Right.
I was watching an Aaron Ra video, and he was talking about, ask these people why they believe in God. They'll tell you. I used to be a crackhead. And like the part of my brain that struggles with addiction and says I need to make it work for me to stay here, just like that cathedral we were talking about, it was like a wrecking ball, man. Like I was so mad at him in that moment. Like I really like your content, you produce great content, and like now I feel personally attacked. And that like took some rolling over to realize like, yeah, that's crazy. Why are we attributing like I used to be a drug addict to oh, we lost our dude.
Which dude? Oh, there it is. What happened there, bud?
Because I went to go click on another tab, and I forgot you have to open a whole different tab, and otherwise it'll kick you out of the stream.
Oh, Hang on.
So I was still like regularly attending AA and like being out about my atheism, and somebody asked me to close a meeting with the Lord's Prayer, and I just looked at him and was like, no.
Yeah, are
And
you
there was
fucking serious?
this really long awkward silence where they're going like, do we ask somebody else? Because it was part of the meeting format to use the Lord's Prayer at the end of the meeting, and they kind of looked at each other and were like, well, maybe he can close with the Serenity Prayer. Like, maybe that'd be okay.
The Serenity Prayer?
Are you familiar with AA?
No, not really. I mean,
Yeah.
I know that there is religion based behind it, but
Yeah, they would say there's not, but it's probably a whole topic.
oh, Mikey! I just sent Mikey a link to join us. Who's We the Deviants or the Deviants in the chat? Who's actually he's he's my producer guy. Him and IQ both do workload stuff for me. Mike will be much more involved in the show, the call-in show that Randolph and I will be starting up this fall. So he's amazing. His talents always seem to blow me away for this kind of thing. But I sent him a link to join us, but unfortunately he's stuck at work. That's too bad. Can you take a 15-minute break or something, Mikey? Go out, just jump in on your phone, or just to say hi, man. Just to say hi. I haven't talked to you in days. Yes, we're still going, Old Man Dan. Of course, I always try to. Well, I mean, I don't know how much longer. I mean, it's 8:30 here where I am, and you're in the same coast as me, right, James?
Yeah, I'm in Southern California.
Exactly. So you're Pacific time too. So that's all right. I remember that's why it was so easy to do this with you, because we're in the same fucking time zone. Yeah. So
except for the part where I work nights, I would really like to catch more of your live shows. And like I click the bell, it just doesn't work out for me most of the time.
Even clicking the bell, sometimes you don't get announcements. If any channels that you're following where you've done that, they don't always pop them in there. YouTube's kind of weird with the whole algorithm thing. Although recently I was told that my videos are starting to show up a little bit more now.
Yeah, I'm blown away by the quality of your content. Some of you dive into. You've had some real academics and stuff on. It's
sure, yeah,
it's great.
Yeah, I mean, I'll talk to anyone as long as there's as long as the whole either a deconversion story or a religious influence type thing comes. I'm talking right now to Travis Pangburn. I'm not sure if you know who Travis Pangburn is, but he runs a company called Pangburn Philosophy, and he's hosted shows that have included people like Richard Dawkins, Sam Harris, Matt Dillahunty, Seth Anders, that kind of thing, where James Randi, where they get together and talk on stage. And I had tickets to see James Randi and Matt Dillahunty when they were here in Vancouver, but I came down with a harsh flu that knocked me on my ass for almost 2 weeks straight, and I gave the tickets away to a friend of mine named Jim and his wife so they could go see it. All right, and then they gave me the run, and I watched it on YouTube afterwards. But yeah, he's been running this company, Pangburn Philosophy, for quite some time now. He fell into a little bit of financial issues, and everyone was kind of harping on the poor guy all about that. And then I spoke to Matt himself. Oops, I keep hitting my. Sorry, guys. About because I keep hearing all these negative things about Pangburn, and he's like, no, Travis is good people. So I sort of followed him on Twitter, and he follows me, and we've been talking, and I kind of would love to, but he's a cradle atheist. He's never been a believer. But I've had cradle atheists on the show, and will continue to have cradle atheists on the show, like Bionic Dance, Kate Farr. I've had her on the show, and she's been an atheist because her parents were hippies and all that sort of thing, right? And they were never really believers. They kind of had a little bits here and there in their upbringing, but I have no problem if you're a cradle atheist. I bring people on just to talk about whether or not you went through a deconversion or if you had religious influence in your life. That kind of thing too also works. Anyway, but yeah, I'll have you on as long as we can talk about how religion influences us socially. That's basically what I'm about. And also about, I love hearing the stories of how people found their way free from these kinds of belief systems, because I believe these stories can help others that don't realize that there's an atheist community out there, that are in that path of deconverting, and they just need a little bit more stories or information of others that have been where they are, where they go, holy shit, I can identify with this. Right. And then it helps. Right. And I'm starting to get more and more emails from people saying, I've watched your show now for over a year and you've had some great guests on, and just the reason we love you is because you'll have anybody on your show. They don't have to be known. You'll have anyone on that will tell their story. And that's what I was aiming for. I was aiming for that kind of responses from people. Your show helped me. I get emails like that now, and it blows me away. So it means I'm making a difference.
Yeah, and I can say too.
Go ahead, man.
Okay, I was going to say too, if anybody needs help on going to sleep, just mix melatonin with Neil's deconversion story with Seth Andrews, and you will fall asleep immediately.
The ASMR episode.
My sleep schedule almost swears by that deconversion story. Like, I'm not even joking. I'm like 95% serious.
95%. That's close to 100. So that's I'll never forget. I made the mistake of posting this one time on Twitter. I said, "You can't be 100% sure of anything," and of course, all the theists were like, "Oh, really? So you're 100% sure of that?" And I'm like, "Okay, let me rephrase that." Because you got to watch how you phrase things with theists. I don't think we can be absolutely sure of anything, because there could always be something, right? So,
have you seen the guy on? Well, he's on YouTube too, but the person on mainly Facebook by the name of Morg.
Mork, like, is in the old character that, like,
no,
Mork from Mork, kind of.
No, he's a Hyperionist, and I've watched some of their stuff, and I mean, it's very. There's a lot of points that I don't agree with him on, but I mean, I can't deny that they're very thought-provoking. I've actually considered responding / please do. I've considered responding / reacting to some of their videos too.
Very cool. What's this? IQ? Seth made my speech to him into a ringtone? Are you kidding me? Are you serious, dude?
Skepticism's a trip because, like, we don't stop being skeptics when something meets its burden of proof, right? Like, skepticism doesn't mean being radically opposed to every idea until it's proven absolutely. It means you measure the claim against the evidence and you say, yeah, okay.
Hold on. Mathematics deals with proofs. Science deals with the best demonstration of whatever it is. Science doesn't set out to prove anything. It's just, its goal is to demonstrate the most likely whatever as evidence.
So this becomes kind of problematic language when we talk about things being just a theory, because, like, string theory, but check it out. String theory is a theory, but it has no predictive value.
True, which means it's not a true theory.
Right. So, like, when we're looking at the theory of biological evolution,
it's a hypothesis in reality.
Well, that's a theory that comports with reality and makes predictions about what reality is going to look like. That's
like
amazing.
Gravitational theory or germ theory.
Those are, germ theory is a child of evolutionary theory. Like, it wouldn't exist without evolutionary theory. So that's another proof for evolution. But, like, expanding Earth theory not only doesn't comport with reality, but, like,
good way to put it.
but it has no predictive value. Like, why would you believe in something that doesn't tell you something true about the universe?
That's right. And like Theo actually said, string theory is hard to falsify, which makes it still kind of one of those rogue kind of hypotheses in quantum physics is I'm looking forward to the things that are going to be discovered through quantum physics and stuff like that. Because yes, Theo, I know math is also a science. Well, and math is math. Math is used in science. That's how we come up with formulas and stuff like that. But science is the application that we've made to discover things about reality and nature, and math helps us do that.
Yeah, and one of the videos that Morg person was talking about was like
Booger theory. I want to know about this one.
Was talking about proving that there is no God and that the only God that is in the universe is mathematics. And like, I'm not even gonna lie, that's the only idea that's made any sort of sense.
Right.
Yeah, you're talking about redefining terms, though. Like saying,
it really
God
is.
is love. Like, if all you're doing
Why?
is relabeling and calling it love, why don't you just call it love? And this is where the atheist label gets weird. Like, the more specific you make your God claim, the easier it is for me to go, like, that's disprovable. And the more like vague and just, well, like, there's this organizational power in the universe that causes things to comport to reality in a way that's designed, and I'm just like, sure, but like, so what? Like, how? What's the mechanism? What's the predictive value? Like, why would we believe in this thing when we could just say, or the universe just is? And it, like,
No,
talking about
hold on.
Yeah.
Don't use the just is argument, because theists do that. When they talk about God, well, he just is. He's always been. What does that fucking mean?
Well,
math is what it is, and it's been there even before we were around, because it's just a tool we can use, right? But
you're referring to the universe as something that just is.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like when I hear theists, well, where'd your God come from? Well, he's just always been. Well, why do you get that pass, but we can't use that pass? That's special pleading.
Turtles all the way down.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fucked. God is love. Love is a neurochemical reaction. Yep. God is a neurochemical reaction, which is 100% accurate.
But even that is still like, are you defining euphoria? Because if we say this chemical reaction causes euphoria, you still don't need God in that definition anywhere.
Right. Exactly, because it's a neurochemical reaction in your brain.
It's like a placeholder. It's a word we use for when we don't know how to describe something.
That's right.
And we should stop using it.
I agree.
And that's why I'm an atheist. Even though I would rather be an apatheist.
Man, I'm telling you, right now I'm listening to a book by Guy P. Harrison on Audible called Think. I highly recommend you guys check this book out. I'm ordering the hard copy, so I actually have it at my disposal when I need it. But holy fucking shit, this book is amazing, and it talks about all kinds of stuff like that. How to think, thought processes, how they evolved, that kind of thing. It's an amazing book.
This is Audible.
Oops. This is the one here. Guy P. Harrison, called Think, and it talks all about that kind of shit. And I've been listening to it for the past few days, and at work when I work in the lab and stuff like that. And mind blown every day when I listen to this shit.
Yeah, I can get pretty wrapped up in the simulation model as like viable, like if I want to, but it still doesn't have any predictive value. It doesn't describe the universe that I exist in a way that adds anything to it. So even if simulation model is true, it's
Theo, no.
It's useless. Yeah.
Science is not a subset of philosophy. Science is a tool we use to understand the universe and world around us. Philosophy is handy to be used in scientific exploration, but science is not a subset of philosophy. I disagree with that. Sorry.
I've always
Right.
thought of philosophy as like the question of how to best live.
Well, how to best anything. Like you can attach philosophy to all kinds of things. Where you sit back and you talk about what you're thinking about, and then you get ideas from that, and you can move forward to that. Doctors in philosophy, yeah. No, I refuse that shit. It's the origin. Okay, that I can get on board with. Philosophy being the origin of science, because of course people are going to be sitting around discussing ethical ways of dealing with things, especially in the field of medicine. So yeah, I mean, philosophy is necessary for many, many things, especially when you're dealing with moralistic and ethical type things.
Skepticism is philosophy, isn't it?
Skepticism is a form of philosophy, yes.
Yeah, so I would say the scientific method is a child of skepticism, which is a philosophy.
Okay, I mean, just science is so, to me, it's something, because I deal with it every day when I go to work. I'm a chemist by trade. And I don't really use a lot of philosophy. Of course, I'm working with things that have been in use for years now, so there's no need for philosophy. But
yeah, I don't think we're arguing. I think this is
we're in
an
agreement.
apples and oranges thing.
I think you're right. And this I'm more in line with for sure. Theo needs to come on my show one day. Damn it. Well, Greek philosophers are the first scientists, mathematics, ethics, etc. Yes, I agree with that for sure. Philosophy predated science. Yes, it did. Absolutely.
So can I bring up another topic?
Of course.
How do you guys feel about the efficacy and just ridicule? How do you guys feel about ridicule?
I think it depends on context.
Yeah, really.
Like, what do you mean when you say, how do I feel about ridicule? What are you mostly referring to when you say that?
Well, okay, so largely I'm going to make an appeal to personal experience here and say that when Aaron Ra made the criticism, Aaron Ra made the criticism of, no, that was totally my bad. I should not have done that. I used to be a crackhead, and the effect that had on me, and even my pushback to it, like that whole process, tearing down the cathedral, like, should be uncomfortable. Why would we expect this to be the softer, gentler way?
Right.
So, like, even though I understand why we shouldn't just walk around that way all the time, I do think there's a place for it. And I hope that my forum doesn't come across as ridicule, especially when I'm highlighting my own hallucinations.
Sure.
So
I think if you anyone that would be chatting with you or watching, say, a video you make on this topic, I don't think they're going to think that off the hop, right? Because you're
unless they want.
Well, okay, yeah, and there's people like that out there, but of course that's all confirmation bias shit. But you obviously, that was one of your demons at one time, and you overcame that. So props to you for that, by the way.
Yeah. Part of why I've been kind of delayed in this process of starting this channel and everything is, like, right when I decided that I was going to do it, I got really kind of entrenched in Shannon's channel, and
she's awesome.
I do not want to weaponize theism as like a mental health disorder.
It's not.
Now, so take that and set it on the side for a second and consider that if we wanted to destigmatize mental health issues, acknowledging that a vast majority of society claims to be a member of that sect would be the most radical thing to normalize mental health.
The issue I have is every single human being that lives and has ever lived in the history of human beings has had some form of mental health issue. Even though our egos tend to make us, oh, I'm fine. But that's not the case. Every single person alive today that will ever be live and that has ever lived has or will have some form of a mental illness.
I think the most common one would be depression too. Yep.
It's up there.
Yeah, so I work in addiction therapy, and if you want to tag depression and anxiety disorder on somebody who has a substance use disorder, you can. Like those are parallel symptoms.
Well, I was talking earlier how the fucking edible sent me off the edge.
Yeah.
Into paranoia town, where I literally thought my heart was going to explode, and I got scared. So
whether or not those issues belong in the DSM-6 when it comes out is, having mental health issues doesn't necessarily qualify you for a disorder. I've very much considered self-diagnosing myself with religious trauma syndrome, and at the same time, I feel like I'm functioning through it pretty well. It's not super detrimental to my life. I'm still able to maintain relationships. I don't have too much trouble holding a job. It's kind of fine.
You beat your vices. That's something that's
also for me. It's not to say that disorder shouldn't exist for someone else.
Right. Okay. For sure.
Yeah, and I was talking to my mother about that not too long ago. About religious trauma syndrome is a real thing, and she's like, she can't wrap her head around that. Being a extremely devout Catholic that she is, she can't wrap her head around, how someone could be traumatized by religion. I'm like, well, they are. Well,
right now you can just get diagnosed with PTSD. And the only reason that's tricky is because the trauma can be fear of hell and that kind of stuff. So the it's such a weird thing because in one hand we're saying, but hell is real. And in the other hand, we're saying, but hell's not real. So how do we? It's
not real.
But you know what I'm saying? Which one is true? And to ask psychiatrists to pick a side in that is going to be uncomfortable.
I could give you two off the top of my head that are great for these kinds of topics, especially when we're dealing with religious trauma, which thoughts about hell have caused many, literally, that's one of the biggest ones. Dr. Marlene Winnell and Dr. Daryl Ray are two people that work with the Recovering from Religion Foundation. Well, Marlene does her own thing, which there are links to in the original interview. I have them in all my videos, actually. These are experts in the field, and they get to talk to people about religious traumatic type thoughts and behaviors once people find their way out of their previous belief systems. And so these are fantastic people to speak to about that. And I'm actually working on getting Dr. Daryl Ray on the show too, because I've had Marlene on already. And actually, it's funny because I've noticed I was picking this up and flipping through it again a little while ago, called A Better Life, which is a book, pretty big one too, a coffee table type book, done by a fellow by the name of Chris Johnson, who has known atheists out there like Richard Dawkins, Penn and Teller, these kind of people, right? And Julia Sweeney was another one. And I've been going through this book recently to see who's in here that I haven't had on the show yet, because I kind of would like to have almost the entire roster of the people in this book on my show, because I think that'd be great. And it helps me promote the book as well, because it's a fucking awesome book. Dillahunty's in here. Tracy Harris, Jen Peoples, the people you know from the Atheist Experience. Russell Glasser, who is no longer on the show. Same with Jen, and that's a whole other story. But I highly doubt I'm going to get somebody like Richard Dawkins on the show. But from what I've been told, Jason, what's up? Jason Sumner, who I've had on the show recently, another metalhead rocker like me, is in the chat now as well. Jason, I'd invite you in, brother, but I'm going to probably be shutting this down pretty quick here. It's getting close to 9, and I still have some partying to do with some friends who are waiting for me, but that's okay. I told them I had the show tonight, and they're like, just show up when you show up. But anyways, I think it'd be cool to kind of have the roster of people in here on my show to tell their stories. And Julia Sweeney, I'm not sure if you guys even know who Julia Sweeney is. She's an alumni for Saturday Night Live. She played a character on there called It's Pat. I don't know if you guys remember that. Or the androgynous kind of person. They didn't know what gender to apply it to. Pat. Because they had Pat is a universal type name. Same with, and then Pat introduced Pat's friends on the show as Chris and Terry, which are also names that could be either male or female or other, right? So nobody could figure out what their genders were. So they would always try to ask leading questions that never worked. Right? It was a great little sketch, and Julia's in this book. So, and I've sent her a message, and she has seen it. Just hasn't gotten back to me. But again, I'm a nobody, right? And Julia's a world famous celebrity. So, will she answer? Maybe. Will she come on? Maybe. It'd be really cool to talk to her because I love her work. She's a part of probably what I would consider to be the last best version of Saturday Night Live that there was. I mean, there's a few people that they had on future versions, like Will Ferrell, who I think is hilarious. But really, it's Mike Myers and Julia Sweeney and all the, Eddie Murphy, Billy Crystal, the classic, of course, the originals with Bill Murray, John Belushi, Gilda Radner, the original Saturday Night Live crew was the best in my opinion. Anyway, I have no idea what's going on. Ricky Gervais would be awesome to have on the show. His show is really good, the one on Netflix. Anyway, so yeah, I want to get Tim Minchin on the show. Like that'll ever happen.
So there's kind of this
IQ.
celebrity.
Go work, brother. Go to town, brother. Get Ricky on my show. That'd be awesome.
The celebrity, non-celebrity status of the atheist community is really a trip because, of course, there's people that you have to go through their personal assistant to schedule a phone call. But there's also a ton of atheists that you can send a message on Facebook and, they might message you back.
Yep.
Like Neil and Jenna and,
I'm not famous, dude. I'm famous to maybe a handful of people. But I'm pretty, I don't give a shit about that. Sort of
but
I just want people to share their stories.
Our boy the Hitch was talking about how he was listed in the phone book. He stayed listed in the phone book right up until the end, which is just amazing. So that's a big part of my thing is I have no intention of being internet famous, but I would like to be accessible enough that if somebody is having these experiences, they can talk to somebody that's transparent about having them too.
Well, you've just told a bunch of people in the chat that that's the case. By the way, he's on Twitter now, guys. So if you go to the link below, that'll take you to the original interview. I have all his links on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube that you can then go sub to him on YouTube, please, and follow him on Twitter. We got to get him more revolved into the community that we have on Twitter. So go and follow him and suggest that others follow James the Tank as well. Okay? Definitely. Which I'll be doing.
Looking forward to being more of a part of it.
Just, pick your battles on Twitter, man. That's the best way to do it.
The eye roll emoji has been pretty effective against me. So
yeah. Emphasis on the old. Neil's very old hat at this. Yeah, I'm old. And I like hats. Oh, it's too far away. My favorite one is the one I got in Disneyland with Jack Skellington on it, the gigantic top hat, almost as big as the pirate hat that I saw you in when we first opened up the after party.
Should I
you got that sucker around there somewhere? Yeah, because that's fucking brilliant. That's a great hat.
Figure out where I set it down. Yeah, so I made this myself. It's out of a leather jacket. And I used there's just not enough light.
Yeah, you don't really have a lot of light there, dude. So.
Yeah, so I got purple velvet. This is leather that was used from a leather jacket, and I kind of formed it into horns. So I've got the Davy Jones thing. It's still
Yarr.
I'm a big fan. The wedding was so much fun. Like,
Well, shit, if you guys dress like that, I can only imagine how fun it was.
we had like a real blend of genders in the parties. You know, one of her party was a dude, and I had like trans, gay, lesbian all over on the place on my side, and it was really fascinating because like both of our families have really conservative members, and we just kind of watched everybody go like, we're not going to do that today, you know, like this is going to be a good day, we're all going to get along, and I hope that experience was beneficial for, you know, after the wedding. I hope people took that experience with them, you know.
Yeah, for sure. No, I can imagine they probably did, for sure. Pardon me for a second. I got an itchy back. I picked up this back scratcher thing, except it doesn't work with my hair in the way all the time. So I'm going to pull my hair out of the way before I can scratch it. Ask Glass Monster. He has 1,525,662 of whatever it is you're looking for. Glass Monster is a fella that kind of stumbled on my channel a while ago. And he's always wanting to jump into the after parties. But he's old school. Like, he's old school. His microphone is an old telephone handset that he's hooked up. And it's hysterical. He's an interesting guy, but he's got some ideas that I'm not sure I'm on board with, that we've talked about outside of this sort of thing.
Yeah.
He's kind of, I don't know. I don't want to say anything that is going to make him look bad, but he's got some ideas that I can't get on board with. And I've told him about them. I said that's one of the reasons why I'm apprehensive about having you in the after parties. So, anywho, that's another.
If somebody's view is open to being changed, you know, I love finding out that I'm wrong. I get to stop being wrong. So,
Yep. That's right.
That whole give a forum to somebody you disagree with thing is, what's your motivation for giving them the forum? Because if you're actually going to be able to change somebody's mind on the air, like, that's amazing.
I'm a lot similar in my thoughts with that, but I had Peter Boghossian scheduled, we'll say, and I mentioned this before on the show. I canceled the show because he put out a tweet that really rubbed me the wrong way. Anyone who puts their preferred pronouns in their bio are inherently violent, whatever the fuck that means. I'm like, that's not the case, pal. I have friends and family members that are a part of marginalized communities in the LGBTQIA plus GSRM, whatever communities that I want to help make these people like they're different. They are the same as they're human beings like everyone, and I want to normalize these fine individuals so that they're no longer thought of as being different from everyone else. That's why I do the gender thing, because I'm a cis white male, you know, pretty much the one that everyone hates for whatever reason. But I know the reasons. But anyways, but I want people to know that I go by the he, him pronouns, because that's what I go by. And to normalize it by putting it in my profile shows that it's not a big deal. And that everyone else that does put their they, them, he, her, she, him, or she, her, whatever pronouns in their bio, that this is a normal thing to do, because it's embarrassing. And I've done it myself when you accidentally misuse something. Like, for example, V LaBianca, who's one of the hosts of Talk Heathen, right? V now identifies as they, them. But when I first met V was using the she, her pronouns. So it's hard for me, being an old school guy, I guess, not that that's an excuse, because it isn't. Accidentally slip up once in a while, and I'll say she, her when I'm referring to V. But that's what I got used to off the hop, right? And that's going to happen because we're talking about old world models of how people were described. And it's tough when you grow up in that era when it was basically the two male females, right? With of course, gays and lesbians that were there. They've been around since the dawn of time anyways, even in the animal kingdom. But so sometimes, but the good thing is many of the folks in these marginalized communities don't have a big problem with that. They understand that your brain is already programmed to think a certain way, and you could slip up one time. But as long as you're making an effort to not do so, they're fine with it. And they'll go, remember, it's actually they, them, rather than she, her, or he, him. And they're fine with it.
I've actually seen V not feel the need to correct somebody more than once. And that's pretty fascinating to me, because they're kind of looking at it going, we have like this other issue that we're trying to talk about right now, and this feels like a distraction, is the way that I kind of navigate that. But I've seen other people correct people for gendering V, and I kind of saw, like, the experience I'm thinking of, it felt like V got really uncomfortable. Like, why are you correcting somebody when I'm not? And, you know, obviously I'm applying all kinds of my own psychosis to what they're thinking, but
right.
Yeah, I think intent is a lot, you know, just misgendering somebody as an accident and trying to correct it. I have a friend who has kind of celebrity status, who's trans and trans advocate. And when I hear her talk about cis white men, it's hard to not internalize that, like, a little bit. But what's funny is, like, one of her favorite things to say is, like, these cis white men that just don't get it. And I kind of had a conversation with her, and I was like, see, the thing is, like, it's not my job to get it. Like, I know you're not even talking about me, but, like, I love you. Like, it's okay for me to just not get it. When we're talking about identity politics, like, I don't have to get it. I'm not black. I'm not a woman. I'm not trans. Like, there's all these things that I'm not, but, like, I still want to support you. You still have a right. And I think,
of course, they're human beings.
So much of what it is down to. Yeah. Anyway,
every human being deserves the same rights until they give you a reason where they don't. That's the way I look at it. They deserve respect.
I have opinions about the prison system too. Like, why are we incarcerating people without the intent of making them better? Like, if we're not
it's about money now. They're privatized, so it's all about money.
If we're not rehabilitating people, we shouldn't even be imprisoning people. This punitive model doesn't work. But that's just an opinion, you know. I could be wrong.
Of course. Yeah, of course. Anyone can be wrong about anything. And when we are, we'd like to be pointed out that we're wrong about some. Yeah. Well, when we're wrong, we want to be corrected, because it sucks being wrong, and I'd much rather be right than wrong. Not that that's the most important thing. I'd rather be civil and decent and a decent humanist about being right about something. It's not always right to be right? You should be. Well, I could go down a whole rabbit hole with this one, but I'm going to call this one over, because I got shit I got to go do. I got people waiting for me. They were having a barbecue. My buddy did up. He's a smoker, right? So not a smoker like he does. He has a pit smoker, so he puts like brisket and ribs and stuff in this thing, and he smokes them for 10 hours. And then crisps them up quickly on the barbecue and then serves them up, and they're fucking delicious. Best ribs I've ever had in my life are the gigantic brontosaurus size with chunks of meat on them that are bigger than two of my fists together. And it was delicious. And he just did a huge 18-pound brisket on there. So I have to go have a sample of that. Anyway, James, again, thank you for joining me today.
Have more than it's been a lot of fun.
Well, he got a good deal on it from his butcher, so yeah, and he buys from. There's a local butcher that we have here, who's an ethically sourced butcher. So I go to this guy too now, ever since being introduced to him. But yeah, it's yeah, I haven't been disappointed yet, and I much prefer ethically sourced butchers over the others, where they're not so careful about shit like that. Anyway, Tony, you got to
smoke brisket. And then try to close a meeting.
Chucky smokes a bit. Well, I don't know. Jesus Wizard Spatula, which is another fantastic name. A buddy of mine's a part of a group, I guess, of barbecue experts, as they call themselves. Pig pickings, yep. Canadians do pig pickings. Jesus, let's look up the guy in my local neighborhood. What's his name? That killed all the hookers and chopped them up and fed them to his pigs. Literally half an hour away from where I lived, this guy lived. Robert Picton. Look up the Robert Picton farm. Go Google that shit. You're going to be fucking disturbed as shit after watching that. There's a couple of serial killers that one of them who's actually, I had a card series that you could buy, like trading cards, like baseball, hockey type things. They were called Mob Hitman, I think was one of them, that had like Lucky Luciano, Al Capone, that kind of thing. And then they had serial killers like John Wayne Gacy, that kind of thing. They had different sets that you could collect, and I collected them and gave them to a buddy of mine. And they had one in there called Clifford Robert Olson, who was a local serial killer from my neighborhood from when I was a kid. And he actually killed a friend of mine. So she was one of his first 4 victims, I think. Elizabeth Cosma, or Judy Cosma is her name. Elizabeth is her sister that I'm still in contact with. But yes, so I've known people that have been murdered by serial killers, now well-known serial killers. Yeah, Clifford Robert Olson and the Picton, Willie Picton, I think is the guy's name, are a couple of murderers that live right near me. Yay! They're both in prison. I think Olson's dead, actually, but yeah, some fucked up shit. This Picton guy used to lure hookers and party girls into his place and then kill them, chop them up, and feed them to his pigs. Yeah. No, Dan, it wasn't my childhood. It was just elements of my childhood. Right? I wasn't like completely fucked up because of it or anything. But yeah, it's fucked up that I shared space with these people, of course. But anyway. Yeah, sorry, Jesus, Mike. I'm making Mike want to go to his butcher and get some good eats. Well, it's time for me to go do that. Anyway, guys. BBA, thanks for jumping in. Also, thanks to Murder Shed Steve and Christian Watkins, who kind of disappeared on us. Maybe God zapped him. Who knows? But anyway.
If the rapture happened, none of us know about it yet.
Yeah, if the rapture happened, yeah. No planes crashing. So not all Canadians are super friendly. No, that's a common myth. It's a very common myth. We have our share of psychopaths up here too.
I have bumped into Canadians and had them apologize for me running into them.
Yeah, we're good for that. We're good for that. Yeah, sorry, eh? So yeah, James, man, been great hanging with you. You can jump in any of my after parties if you're around. If you're not working, you got a night off and you want to jump in, let me know and I'll let you in here. Awesome. BBA is pretty much furniture in my shows pretty much these days. So
yeah, he's grandfather clock.
Yeah, he's been doing these since the dawn of the channel. So,
and believe it or not, for anybody who's new to Neil's channel, I actually used to have more subscribers than him until he went to Fatal Storm in 2019 and blew me out of the water.
Yeah, and now it's a constant. now BBA is in a constant battle with Bimilzebub to up and down with their subscribers. So it's just hilarious. Go sub to both of them, Bimilzebub and BBA, because they do put out good content. And I know James will be putting out good content too. And there's a link in the original interview to his channels. So go check him out. Go stalk him on Facebook. Go stalk him on Twitter. And my new thing, of course, at the end of these shows, and I forgot to do it in the interview, which is not surprising because I've been off for 2 weeks, so some things might slip through the cracks. Plus, a few beers later. But I always say, because of the whole COVID thing right now, remember, guys, to be safe, be well, and above all, be kind. And like the late great Carl Sagan once said, extraordinary claims demand extraordinary evidence. And we will see you guys next time. Talk soon.
Been fun.